Hey everybody. Hey everybody, Tim Kawakami here, 49ers Plus Minus. We are here post-game show Sunday night after the 49ers victory in Seattle. I'm here with my co-host Matt Barrows of The Athletic, who is running the show because his laptop's better for this than mine right now. So if there are any technological, if I can say the word, difficulties, who knows whose fault it is. If you can see on the video, names are actually flipped on the card here. So however that goes, you can call me Matt Barrows if you wish. You can call him Tim Kawakami. I'm sure it's going to be our lifelong objective to not be that. But Matt Barrows, 49ers victory. I forget the score now, but by 4 points with 17-13, probably with 17-13. Certainly dramatic, certainly full of stuff. We could talk about a lot of different things. What do you want to bring up? First things first, in this 49ers victory in Seattle, that was just jam-packed with drama.
Yeah, there was a little bit of everything. We can talk offense, defense, and I know you want to talk about special teams. But to me, the story of the game is that we're basically one play away from everyone writing the same story, which was, wow, another year, another game in which the 49ers are done in by injuries and special teams. And those two things were problematic again. George Kittle with a hamstring, Juwan Jennings at the one position where this team couldn't afford any injuries, especially to either Pearsall or Jennings. He's out with a shoulder. I watched him through the binocs, trying to catch passes on the sideline. And on a couple of them, he catches it and winces like he's in a lot of pain, can't go back in. So as you noted, Tim and I had dinner earlier that somebody with his game, using his arms a lot to shove off, to block, to do the things that Juwan Jennings does, that could be a problem. So a very thin position got even thinner. We saw Jake Tonja step in for George Kittle. Is that going to happen every week? It's hard to think that it will. So this team has some issues already going into week 2.
Yeah, and still imagine this. It wins the game. Maybe you should have led with that part, Barrows, instead of all the negativity that
I
you're
know. Well,
seeing.
I've got Tim Kawakami underneath my face, so I'm just channeling all this
That's good.
angst.
That's a good point. And let's talk about Evan Anderson now that I'm Matt Barrows. I just think it was a gutty win. One win, what does it matter? But it's on the road. It's against a tough team. We know Seattle's a good defensive team. Offensively, a little challenge, but some really quality players on offense. And the 49ers, I think the one big picture part of this is that young defense looked pretty good.
Yep.
And you can imagine that they're only get better. I think Robert Saleh coming back, you just automatically felt like a 49er defense again after a couple of years where you weren't really sure. And they gutted it out. Purdy throws 2 interceptions, not great, but he threw some beautiful balls at the end, especially obviously on that last drive. The pass, the 45-yard pass to Pearsall was just a classic. Great quarterback, drops back. I'm going to throw it to this guy before he's open. I'm going to trust that he's going to get open. Now, on the interception, he trusted that he was going to get open. He couldn't get to the ball. This time, perfect, drops it right into Pearsall's hands, past the DB. Huge play. And then the throw to Tongas was like, I thought that was him throwing away. I'm still not 100% sure, even though Brock Purdy swears he was throwing it to Tongas. Do you do that when you have Reek Woolen over there? I mean, is that what you really want to do? And God, Lord, Jake Tongas in a jump ball with one of the best ball defenders in football comes down with it. And I knew Kittle was out. Like it was in my mind. I knew it was out, but somebody sitting next to me is like, Kittle. And I was like saying the same thing. Like, how did Kittle come back and do that? Because it had to be Kittle. It couldn't have been Jake. I mean, like Luke, it wasn't even Luke Farrell. It was Jake Tongas. First career touchdown coming after, I think, his first career catches in the NFL on that drive. Huge for them. Had to be made. Maybe my point is it looks so much like last year, but they win. Maybe this is going to be a different year. And I think they're feeling it too. They don't love talking about last year. I asked that question to a bunch of guys, but it has to be on their minds. This was a game they would have lost last season. Now they beat Seattle in Seattle last year, but it wasn't like this. They just kind of outplayed them. This time, like they were screwing up, they're making plays. They were screwing up, they're making plays. They did outgain them by almost 200 yards, but they were screwing up. There were, the Jake Moody field goals. Obviously, we'll get back to that. It just was a game that was there to be lost, and it looked like they were going to lose it a couple times. And they hold on. Defensively, they hold on. Obviously, Bosa makes the play at the end. And offensively, they make the plays they got to make. And you know what? Christian McCaffrey on the field playing like that makes a huge difference. You could just see the image of a team that might be pretty good. And none of us knew that. We hadn't really seen it in camp other than here and there when they weren't injured. But on the road, back completely against the wall of their own doing and of the injuries doing, it means something to win that game. Absolutely means something to win that game.
Yeah, you can't overstate how well the defense played. You mentioned Bosa. Fred Warner had a great game. D. Winters had a great game. Marquise Siegel starts at safety, a rookie, a fifth rounder. He had a nice game, fumble recovery. There were a number of players. Samuel Guanu had a couple of really nice hustle plays where he's on the opposite defensive end position. The Seahawks run that wide zone, and he's the guy that's flying down and making the
Bosa
tackle.
like one time at least I thought it was Bosa, because that's the way Bosa flies from the backside, and that's a unique athletic play.
Yeah, that's that for a 260-pound defensive end. That's special. I was critical of him last season. He got a lot of opportunities and didn't get very many sacks in the second half of last season. But he showed his worth today. When he's in the game, he's giving 100%. The Seahawks' whole MO this year is to be more balanced. And they attempted 25 passes and they ran the ball 26 times. So they were trying to make good on that. They only gained, though, 84 yards on the ground, and their longest run was 9 yards. So I think the 49ers will take that every time. I think that bodes well for the season, bodes well for next week in New Orleans, that you can win games if your defense is not giving up ground yards. And so I think the offense will be a big question mark. I don't know how long. Kittle and Jennings will be out. They're both getting MRIs on Monday at Stanford Hospital. But I would think that, the history of hamstring injuries on this team, and Kittle was declared out pretty quickly.
Yep.
Pearsall had a hamstring back in the spring. He was out for more than a month. Ronaldo Green was at least 2.5 weeks. Jacob Cowing is still out. So this is a multi-week injury because you don't want it to crop up over and over again during the season. So I think that they're going into this game without George Kittle. The question is, are they going in without Juwan Jennings too? Does that mean that Kendrick Bourne is coming? There are signs that he's on his way. I mean, he's the only really good receiver still available, and the 49ers like him. So that makes a ton of sense to kind of bring him in to shore up that position.
Yeah, I think, listen, like Michael Williams played a lot of snaps. I don't know the rep count, but I saw him in there a ton. Starting on the outside, rushing from the inside. I think CJ West got some snaps. I thought he looked pretty good in the snaps he got. I did not see Alfred Collins in there as much, but he was out there. Like, just getting these young guys in there is going to matter. Just letting these guys feel what the NFL game is like. Nick Martin was a scratch, which is interesting, down the depth chart maneuver, but they probably wanted Curtis Robinson in there. There's some other guys that are ahead of him, but I thought it was interesting. But you could just see what the shape of this defense could be, and you certainly can see what Saleh means. Bosa volunteers. Saleh's the man. Called a great game. Like, how comfortable the veterans are with having their guy, Robert Saleh, the first defensive coordinator of the system. Obviously, D'Amico Ryan's was great too. But then the last 2 years with Steve Wilkes and Nick Sorensen were not great. And they feel good. They feel good with Robert Saleh. Robert Salt was a real happy man in there. I think as you and I
Yes.
in the locker room afterwards. I could have called a blocking in the back on him. He came in there and gave me a little bump. But they're happy. They were really happy. I think they knew what this game meant. And if they had lost it, Barrows, they lose this game, which could have happened. One, Bosa doesn't make that play. Tongas doesn't come down with it. All these things. And that was third down, by the way. That would have gotten a fourth down at that point. And do you kick the field goal in that moment? Who knows? He had made a field goal before, a little bit before that, but they lose that game with these injuries. Go to New Orleans and bad team, but you could lose that game, right? It's a 10 a.m. start, West Coast time. You never know what's going to happen with those. You get this win, you get some momentum, you feel good about yourselves, and then maybe you get that win, you're 2-0, and 2-0 on the road, Barrows.
Yeah.
That'd be something pretty, it's what playoff teams do. I don't care who the opponents are. 2-0 on the road to start the season is what playoff teams do.
The Sala energy was palpable. You saw it with D. Winters, had a couple of tackles for loss on one of those. It's third down, and he's flexing afterwards, and he immediately flexes towards the sideline, and the guy flexing back, his mirror on the sideline is Robert Saleh. And that's just something you didn't see it.
You didn't see Nick Sorensen?
You didn't see it with Steve Wilkes early in the 23 season because he was up with us.
He might have been flexing with you, maybe, but not with.
Yeah, exactly. And you didn't see it with Nick Sorensen. That's just not his personality. So it makes a difference. He's got the backing of Nick Bosa for sure, and that's one of the two most important guys you need on that defense. The other guy being Fred Warner, who both. Okay, so this is why Fred Warner left the game. There was some speculation and other things. He says that he didn't put his chin strap on tight enough, and so in making or attempting to make the tackle, the chin strap came up and popped him in the nose and created a bloody nose. At the same time, he fell on somebody's cleat right in his solar plexus and couldn't breathe. So that's why he was struggling so much on the ground and had to be helped off. But once he got his breath back and he got some gauze stuffed up his nose, he was re-energized and maybe even more than he was at the beginning of the game. He seemed like he was more of a man on a mission after he came back into that game. And like I said, he and D. Winters played a hell of a game. I mean, it looked a lot like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, minus the bad penalties. That was provided by Diamador Lenore in this game. But the energy and the ability to get to the sidelines, that was the key. This was a team that wanted to run to the sideline, and maybe the Seahawks are still learning how to do that. They're not adept at it yet. But the 49ers, for the most part, like I said, the longest gain was 9 yards against a team that really wanted to run the ball and was leading for most of the game. So that tells you that the defense did a pretty solid job in Seattle.
I don't know how you can point the finger at Diamador Lenore like that. You've spent podcast minutes and minutes complaining that they got rid of all their dogs, all their badasses, and Diamador Lenore tries to step into the Barrows void and gets a couple penalties, and you complain about it. This is just what being a dog is all about.
Fred Warner's a dog, and he doesn't get penalties left and right. You can be a dog and still be under control.
Okay, well, please inform Lenore if you want him to avoid these penalties.
I did. A hyena.
It just like you talk about it, you don't want to overdo it. And I even talked about it in my columns. Like, if there's one huge overreaction you want to make about a week full of overreactions, because we all do it in week one, but the one that might be valid is that Robert Saleh is going to fix his defense. Just coming back, Robert Saleh fixes his defense. Now we'll see. Again, who cares if they shut down Spencer Rattler, I guess. But, if you're the 49ers, you do want to see that. We'll see how it goes week to week to week. But, man, it looked tighter. It really did. Those, they were getting gashed on the run late last season, and that, didn't look great early. But you got to figure out some things. I just think they got some, they got some ability to tighten it up. We'll see if they stay healthy. We'll see if the young guys really do take big steps. But Saleh by himself could be worth a couple wins, and that's hard to get in the NFL. From if you're not talking about a player, it's hard to have a coach make that much difference. And just for Warner and Bosa, it's worth it, I think. And I'm sure it is worth it for Shanahan just to know the defense is taken care of. I just think that's the big picture look from this game, other than them not succumbing. As Shanahan said, they never wavered. And, coaches say that a lot. I think this time he really meant it. And Bosa said something like that too. He didn't say it like that. He just said, you got to stay in it. You can't get too up or down. You have to just stay in it. Because listen, if I lost focus, we might lose a game because I'm not ready for that play. So I just think it's a little bit of 49ers messaging to themselves that they're better than they were last year and tougher than they were last year. And this kind of helped prove it in their minds. But you always need to see it on the field. And we saw it, and the world saw it. And now they're 1-0. And they don't, that's one less road game they've got. This is all the stuff of turning things around. Doesn't mean they're a great team, but it means 6-11 is probably not going to happen again. We knew that, but you still got to see it. And that makes 10 wins possible. It makes 11 wins possible. But let's get to the stuff that maybe doesn't sound as good, did not look as good. The special teams, Barrows, just generally didn't look good. Like generally, there's very specific things that didn't look good, but they're like generally, I don't know what a positive would be on special teams of any of them. Punting, the kicking, the return, the coverage, it was all bad.
Yes, I agree with you. And it was all bad from jump. Jake Moody's opening kickoff went in for a touchback. They obviously want the ball to fall, somewhere between the 3 and the goal line. And all of a sudden, the Seahawks had the ball on the 35. And I forget how many touchbacks. That wasn't the only touchback of the game on a kickoff. There were 3. And then there were some, dicey moments on coverage. You had guys on coverage because of the 49ers, going with Marquise Siegel, for example, which is, I think, the right choice at safety. But the opposite or the ancillary effect is that you have Jair Brown now playing special teams. I don't know if he's the best special teamer. He's certainly not one of the fastest guys on the team. You've got Isaac Guerrero now playing special teams. He's a running back. He's probably not the best special teamer in the world. And that's because Brian Robinson got all of the number 2 snaps. And Robinson did well. There were some plays, though, and maybe this is my own thing because you and I disagreed on this, but there were some plays where I thought if Isaac Guerrero were in the game and he got the same blocking as Brian Robinson did, it would have been, big gains and maybe even a touchdown on one of them, because Robinson is learning. And more to the point, Robinson isn't a speed demon. He's not a one-cut guy. He's not exactly built for this offense. I think he'll get better as the season goes on, but it was a learning game for the rookies that you pointed out, and it's a learning game for the newcomers. And one of those newcomers is Brian Robinson. Another one is Russell Gage. And I have to give you your flowers on this one too. This is a tough episode for me.
Many of them are, Barrows. Many of them.
Gage and MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, both played a lot of snaps. My guess, and I don't know this for a fact yet, but it felt like Gage got more snaps than MVS did. Neither of them got a catch or even a target, or maybe MVS got 1 target. But I think that Gage ended up playing more snaps, so therefore you win the competition. Are you happy? Wow. You happy now?
Wow, I don't even remember exactly what that competition was, but Gage was he was the third receiver. That's what I thought.
He began the game as the third receiver. Yeah. He did not end the game as the third receiver.
Well, because they had Jennings was out, and we'll see if Purdy starts throwing the ball. He clearly was focused on 23, who I would be focused on also. Christian McCaffrey, 10 targets, looked fantastic, and Pearsall, who he did force it to him that one time for interception, and that's why I would say that Brian Robinson also, the fact like he was open, it almost looked like that was the play because the tight end went out wide as a blocker in front of him, and Purdy doesn't even look over him. He's open, and he forces it into triple coverage essentially for Pearsall down the left side. Now, Pearsall could have made a better play on it, probably. I think Kyle certainly thought so, judging by his response to it. But it's also a quarterback who trusts his receiver. You kind of want to see that. I don't think Shanahan was too upset by either interception that Purdy threw. One of them was trying to, on his back foot, trying to throw it over Ernest Jones, who made a great play. Shouldn't throw that, but Juwan was open. You could have got him. It would have been a big play. You don't want to throw those interceptions. I think Shanahan will take them. If you just throw 2 touchdowns, that helps too. Let's talk a little bit about McCaffrey. Obviously, the question was is he healthy or not? Misses practice Thursday. We're limited practice Thursday, limited practice Friday. Obviously, 49ers have been through this last year with him. Question mark going in week 1, and all of a sudden they popped up on injury reserve last year. This year, there was little better signs about it. They did not raise anybody to practice squad from the practice squad up, which again, as you noted on the solo Barrows pod, which I've heard raves about. My goodness, the solo Barrows pod. Maybe he should just go on his own. Paul McCartney just taking off. But he looked good. He did look. I mean, he was classic Christian McCaffrey, running hard between the tackles. Obviously, if he got something open, he just took it. It's 8 yards, and was just it's these choice routes. I assume they're choice routes. Right? It's just him go find a slot, and Purdy's like, I'm throwing it to 23, and if I throw it to 23, he's catching it, and we're getting a first down. I'm going to be curious how many first downs he got. I bet you he got a ton of them. I'm a big first down guy. I asked Christian once, like he led the league in first downs made by a lot in 23. He led the league in a lot of things. And he said, I don't really follow that. I don't know. So I thought he might, since he gets so many. But they're different with him out there. No question. Whether it's Garendo or Brian Robinson, that's what I was laughing when, some fans speculated, well, Brian Robinson's acquisition means Christian McCaffrey just be the slot receiver. No. He is great at what he does. Robinson is just the guy to give him a break, which is what he was today. I do think he will look better than he did. I didn't think he looked good. Robinson looked good today. I really did. He got some yards. Thought he just was a little off step. And I've thought that about Garendo sometimes too. He's like, it's not quite on the right pace. We know when a Shanahan running back, he's like hitting the hole when it has to be hit. Kyle's very big about that. That was Mostert, right? Not the most graceful runner, not the most elusive runner, but man, when the hole was there, he hit it. And not quite sure Robinson is there yet. I don't think Garendo's quite there yet either. We'll see as the season goes on. But man, Christian McCaffrey, your thoughts, Barrows?
Yeah, I mean, if this was 2023 and the 49ers were in a 3-point game at the end, Christian McCaffrey is not coming out of the game. And I want to say Robinson got 9 carries. He probably got something like 15 snaps. I didn't chart it. We'll find out tomorrow. My point is that I think the 49ers were trying to, give him as much rest as possible. But, the whole downside of that, which they felt in 2023, is that it's a huge swing when you take Christian McCaffrey off the field. You want him out there all the time. And there was one stretch, and it was the longest stretch of the game that he was out, and it was in the first half. And Robinson had played maybe 3 straight snaps, and Christian McCaffrey 2 times turns to Bobby Turner. Is it time for me to go back in? And 2 times Bobby Turner's like, okay, one more play, and then you can go back in. So part of that equation is Christian McCaffrey really wanting to be out there as well. And so I think that he felt good before the game.
31 touches, Barrows. 31.
Yeah,
touches.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So he had his most combined yards since week 15 of the 2023 season. It just goes to show that he was never quite had the workload last year. They were always sort of easing him back in, and maybe not as effective. And it's a big deal when you play the game. You play most of the game without George Kittle. You play 3 quarters, maybe a little bit more, without Juwan Jennings. And that's what your receiving core is. And yet Christian McCaffrey still has all that production. I mean, it just shows you what a difference he makes when he's on the field.
Yeah, and again, despite the 2 interceptions, I thought Purdy played really well. I mean, you can't despite the interceptions, but he moved them. They just kept moving the ball, and the weapons weren't there. And he's throwing to, Jake Tonkus. He's throwing to, and he's not throwing to Gage and MVS yet. They're still out there. It just was really limited menu he had out there, and they're still moving the ball. And I'll just keep going. He's a good quarterback. He's 4-0 at Lumen, by the way, which is remarkable. I told that to a 49er player and got Buckeye. Really? And they went, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess we won the last 4, but it's been when Brock Purdy's been a quarterback. And how many quarterbacks have we seen? How many 49er quarterbacks have we seen go up there, Barrows, and basically get broken? Like Brian Hoyer got broken in that game up there. There's been others that just can't survive that place. And Purdy flourishes. He always looks comfortable. And again, the 2 picks, but he just looks like he's got it figured out on that field, most fields. But we've seen that defense, Mike McDonald screw him up when he was the Ravens head coach. And Purdy did not have a great game, Seahawks at 49ers last year when McDonald's first year. But up there, I know what I feel like. I feel like when he lets go of the ball is going to go to the right spot. And that is not what you can say about a lot of quarterbacks in that spot. So Brock Purdy, solid. He's kind of the baseline for the 49ers. Still like a 94 passer rating, even with 2 picks. It's about as high as you can get with 2 picks in a passer rating. He keeps the 49ers at a certain level. Now, all their stars do. But the quarterback obviously is the most part. He's touching the ball on every single offensive play. We started on special teams. Somehow we maneuvered away from special teams. I don't know. Is that the Barrows mojo trying to get me off of the one specific part of special teams?
The theme of this podcast is the 2 Jakes. So we already talked about
the good one,
Jake Tonkus. Now you get to swing away at the other Jake.
Some people like, why do I don't chart the pregame, but I watch it, and Barrows makes fun of me for it. But Barrows is watching too, because it is important. More for Moody than I think for any kicker I've watched, because it really does tell you, as Barrows yourself pointed out, like when he's off in pregame, he is usually off in the regular game. And it was also weird, Barrows. I don't know if you saw this. He takes his practice and he misses wildly on one kick, wide left, and he misses another one shorter wide right, and he was making others, whatever. He didn't look particularly comfortable out there. So this is before they come back out for their final warm-ups, because that's when he does his kicking. And then in the final warm-ups, he's going out there and he took another kick. I've never seen him do that. He takes an extra kick when the team drills are about to start. It's like told me like he's not feeling great about this field or something. And Barrows misses from 27 yards at the end of the half. Those are huge moments. Kyle, and the lap, you get the last points of the first half. You get the kickoff to start the third quarter. You can go score again, and then all of a sudden the game's turned. And they did not get that because he missed a 27-yarder, boinks it off the left upright, then gets another one blocked. Not his fault. That was a bad protection blow. But again, special teams. And he could have elevated. Some guys can elevate it faster than that. I'm not going to blame him for that. It's just the kicking with him is always in question. And then he kicks the 34-yarder, which was really important to tie the game 10-10. And that thing was wobbling right. Like if that was 5 yards further back, that was a miss. This is a kicker who is not reliable and never has been. And yet, I asked Kyle Shannon about it today. Maybe it's because me asking. He's annoyed with me, always on Moody. It's possible. But I said, is there a chance that he's not the kicker next week? And he goes, no question. He's the kicker. I believe him. I just don't think they are going to do anything until he actually costs them a game. I just don't think they could change their minds. Who knows? It's a flight back. Maybe there's a conversation. I just don't think Shanahan wants to go down that road unless it really, really, really is mandatory. And I think it is. I think a lot of people think it is. He doesn't think it is. He just doesn't want to get through this kicker thing. He didn't even have a competition, really, even though he said he would. It speaks to the fact that this guy is not going to get removed as 49er kicker, probably, until he costs them a game. And he hasn't cost them a game yet this year. It might be coming.
This year, yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't happened. He cost them one in Cleveland a couple years ago. But It's just for some reason, Shanahan judges every position really tough. Some of them tougher than others, but everyone gets judged tough. Everyone could get cut. Everyone could get replaced, but not this guy. And it's just weird to me. But I think that's the situation right now. Maybe they surprise me by cutting him tomorrow. I don't think that's happening, no.
Greg Joseph is still out there.
Yes.
And I mean, if you believe in Jake Moody, you're believing in him because you think he's gonna break through this problem and become a really consistent kicker. And you don't want to cut him and have him become Justin Tucker on the field for another team. But you're at a stage where he's not doing great on the kickoffs, and you're going for 4th and 2 from the 14 because you don't trust him on field goals. So why is he on your team at that point? I mean, you'd be probably much better served with Greg Joseph. I mean, I'm trying to think like Shanahan and like the 49ers. I'm sure the whole organization wants to give Moody the benefit of the doubt because he was a 3rd-round pick. And so they want him to be good. And the argument about moving on from him is, okay, what if we end up being right ultimately and we didn't trust ourselves with our instinct? Wouldn't that be, even more damning than kind of continuing with him? And I think they got bolstered in that opinion when they hired Brant Boyer, who, and I believe him when he says it, liked him coming out of college, coming out of Michigan, thought he was one of the better kickers available in the last, few years, maybe even 10 years or so. Were they right? Will they be right? They're not right now, and that's the issue. And maybe this is kind of part of their theme of, okay, we're going to ride with the younger players. We're going to start Marquise Siegel. We're going to play a lot of Upton Stout, who got picked on today. That was part of the Seahawks game plan, was to, anytime that Jackson Smith-Njigba or Cooper Kupp were on Upton Stout, that's where they were going with the ball. And they were mostly successful with that. And the 49ers seem to be willing to suffer those growing pains. And, that's part of their theme, I think, with Moody. Suffer the growing pains now so that you can benefit later.
It's a lot of years of growing pains, Barrows. How many years? 7 years of growing pains? Take 10 years of growing pains? It's too much. And it just baffles me when he misses them, but he makes them too. Well, every kicker makes some kicks. I mean, it's like you got to make some kicks in order to be a kicker. So I don't love being, on the side of the loudest 49er fans. I would prefer to be on the other side, frankly. But on this one, I cannot help but I just don't understand it. It's going to cost them a game, or potentially, you don't even want it to potentially cost you a game. You don't want to have a kicker where 50% of your organization is thinking he's going to miss the biggest kick. You don't want Nick Bosa to have to go through that, or Christian McCaffrey, or Fred Warner, or whoever else. You fight too hard to have it come down to that, is my opinion. This isn't 1 year. This isn't 2 years. This is now into the 3rd year, and you clank in 27-yarders, which was a huge kick, which could have cost him the game. And it didn't, and he's made big kicks before, but this is just one of those things. I can't understand why Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, at some point, you got to go over the line of, okay, we thought it one way and we're wrong. And they have done that. They did it with Trey Lance, right? They did it with various other people. Dante Pettis, they've done it. They've cut how many different 3rd-round draft picks at running back, and may again. But on this one, they're just they made a decision on him and they're staying with him. And I don't care if he might become a great kicker somewhere else. If he's not a great kicker for you, that does not matter. You're not playing the guy who's going to be good in 2 years. You're playing the guy who he is right now. So it is just one of the most befuddling things I've seen from the Shanahan Lynch administration. I'm sure they have all their reasons. I know there's reasons. I think there's just 20 more of the other side. And a guy that could miss a 27-yarder at any time is not a proper kicker, especially in a time when you need every win. You're going to be playing a lot of close games. You have a lot of good teams that are right there alongside you in this NFC race, jockeying for position and for seeding, and they got good kickers, and you don't. The Seahawks had a way better kicker. They could have won that game just because of that. That is an unbelievable position for the 49ers to keep putting themselves in week after week after week, and they're doing it. Maybe they think Greg Joseph stinks. I don't think he does. I watched him. Maybe, I've said before, I think they're doing this because they just don't want to go through the merry-go-round. Oh, wait a minute, we did this. I've got to go another kicker. We go another kicker. You know what? When they went through a bunch of kickers last year because Jake Moody got hurt, they all made their field goals. It's like, so what was the problem there? They got hurt. But, I don't know the panic of that. And as you put, too, he's not even doing the kickoffs right. So, whew, okay, that was it.
You're obviously forgetting his 59-yarder in preseason game 2 in Vegas this year,
which settled everything. We just that was it. It closed. That's it. The argument's done. He's great.
He'll always have that.
Yeah. And that's the other one. He had misses, but he did make some too. It's like, so what? I think that's 60% field goal kickers. Terrible. So okay, that's enough of that. I'm sure this will be excerpted and sent right to Shanahan's office, and he'll get even further angry about it. But on that one, I think whatever they cut him, they're going to have to at some point, whether it's off the record or on, say, you know what, we were holding on too long. We have to admit that, and they're in that holding on too long phase right now, and I don't know how long this can continue. I don't think they're going to cut him this week, though. I might be wrong, but I don't know. I think the stubbornness has come in, and they're not going to come off him until it's a loss. I just decided that on this podcast when I was talking a few minutes ago. That's what it's going to take. It's going to have to cost them a game. But do you really need to, yes, I'm not going to do that until I lose my house. Oh, wait a minute, I just lost my house. That's okay. Well, no, okay, you just won. It's like, what? No, don't have that moment. Get the guy who won't lose the game. But there you go. You got anything else more entertaining than that, Barrows?
No, that was a smashing way to you ended this podcast like Jake Moody attempting a 27-yard kick. I mean, you just went bang right off the upright. Aggressive.
I will say, by the way, I will say a nice thing. Levi Stadium replay boards are so much better than Lumen Field. It's like you can't see the freaking play, and you know me, because you can't see the field goal if it's right on your side because it's the posts are just basically a line. I watch those kicks from the board because it tells me if it's good or not. You can't do it because Lumen, it's like this. It's like watching it on a phone. Come on, Lumen, get up. Levi's is kicking your ass on that.
Jed York spent a lot of money to expand those video boards. We're watching them all the time now.
If you missed if you want to see who was the pulling guard and what, you can see it on that board. You see every detail on that board from every seat. I give him credit for that. I'm sure it cost some money, largely done for the Super Bowl, or is it done for the World Cup or wherever? But I'm taking full advantage of it, and fans should too. It is fantastic. And Lumen, a stadium I love for the atmosphere, for the seating. The boards stink. They really stink. I mean, it really shocks you when you're looking up trying to get the same kind of replay. And there's nothing of the sort because the screens are so tiny. They're 1/5 the size of the Levi's. It's amazing.
And the definition isn't as good either.
No, you can't see a field goal. You cannot see a field. You can't see the ball.
Yeah.
So kudos to Al Guido and company, Matt Barrows, on that, because I really count on them for Moody. I really do, because I need to see the trajectory of the ball. And you can't see it from where we're sitting because, again, the ball, you can see it on the far end zones, but you can't see it on the end zone we're close to because you just don't see the depth of the post. So there you go. Way to go.
So basically you're saying that they need to trade Moody to a team that has tiny video boards so that their press corps can't scrutinize him
that would help
to the degree that you are. Okay, that makes
I
sense.
didn't. The only way I could know that he missed that 27-yarder when I heard it. Boom! And then, okay, I guess he missed it.
He hit that one with a lot of oomph. He did not try to finesse that.
I could not tell if it was wide left or wide right. I couldn't because you couldn't see it from where we were at. You just knew it was a miss. So, all right, this transcript shall go over well in 49ers headquarters. But it was Barrows. Can we see? It was Matt Barrows who did it. If you could just see by the name underneath my picture.
Yeah, right. All right, we will talk to you probably in midweek, Tim. There might be a Kendrick Bourne signing. Are we going to have an emergency pod?
I don't think Kendrick Bourne is quite if Moody gets cut, then we will have an emergency podcast.
There you go.
If not, I would say an episode Wednesday evening, maybe something like that. But there's plenty to talk about. They got the road trip coming up, and I think 1-0 feels very good for them. They were 1-0 last year, but that was with McCaffrey on IR. Ayuk just coming back from a bitter holdout. It felt different, and that wasn't on the road. This was 1-0. Well, that was beating Robert Saleh's butt to go 1-0 too. So who cares about that? This is 1-0. Mike McDonald on the road. I think they feel very good about it. Well, we know how good they feel because we got jostled in the locker room from very happy people.
From a bald man that wasn't.
And one of them was a former Stanford safety who also played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So all good. All right, Barrows. That is the show for today. Oh, you got to sign off here because I can't.
Yeah, that's the show for today. We will see you Wednesday, or if there's a Moody transaction, there will be an emergency pod. This is like Tim's favorite thing. He's going to be giddy that day.
Well, we just wrap it all up in what I just said. I mean, because I just said it all right there.
All right. So long.
Yep.